why it plays out the way it does. So let's have a look. Judges 6. The Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. Now you know, code for their answering the question is when God enough badly. They begun to wander. And for 7 years he gave them into the hands of the Midianites, because the power of Midian was so oppressive, the Israelites prepared shelters for themselves in mountain clefts, caves, and strongholds. And whenever the Israelites planted their crops, the Midianites, Amalekites, and other eastern peoples invaded the country. Other eastern peoples helps us understand what's going on. We've got nomadic desert dwellers to the east of Reuben, Gad, half tribe of Manasseh, out in the, whoops, I got to point the right way, out in the desert out there. When they know the planting cycle is coming to harvest, they come pouring in here and harvest the food for themselves, even though they haven't labored for it. They camped on the land and ruined the crops all the way to Gaza and did not spare a living thing for Israel, neither sheep nor cattle nor donkeys. They came up with their livestock and their tents like swarms of locusts. Listen carefully to the numerics, because what we're going to see is a story in Judges 7 about numeric values. It was impossible to count them. Swarming, impossible to count. Or their camels. They invaded the land to ravage it. Midian so impoverished the Israelites that they cried out to the Lord for help. We're moving to step 2, that cycle. And we tighten the frame a little bit and go to a gentleman by the name of Gideon, who is down in Ophrah. So back this direction we go into Ephraim, south of Shiloh, north of Benjamin is where we find the story next. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Hear the reminder there? I am with you. The Lord is with you. "Pardon me, my Lord," Gideon replied, "but if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all the wonders that our ancestors told us about when they said, 'Did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt?'" The messenger is advocating for a return to the answer, only one God is necessary. Gideon is pushing back. Oh yeah? Well, if that's the case, why is all this going on? But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hands of Midian. Now, Gideon speaks for the people, feeling abandoned, feeling like we made a bad decision, hitching our horse to just one wagon. And the Lord turned to him and said, "Go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hands. Am I not sending you?" "Pardon me, my Lord," Gideon replied, "but how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh. I am the least in my family." The Lord answered, "I'll be with you. And you will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive." Hidden in that phrase, "I will be with you," is when God's enough. If it's me, I'll be with you. Well, the story fast forwards, and we learn that Gideon's family has actually established a Baal worship site in Ophrah, their hometown. And so Gideon is animated to destroy the altar, to kill the sacred bull. And, when the extended family pushes back against it, his dad comes out and gives this wonderful speech and says, "I think probably Baal can fight for himself, don't you? If he is a true deity, he'll push back and fight for himself." And so at this point, Gideon seems to be on board. And he begins to gather people at the end of 6 into this area. I'm skipping ahead to 6:33. Now all the because we're moving to this arena here. Now all the Midianites, Amalekites, and other eastern peoples joined forces and crossed over the Jordan and camped in the valley of Jezreel. So now we're right out here in front of Mount Moreh. Then the Spirit of the Lord came on Gideon, and he blew a trumpet, summoning the Abiezrites to follow him. That's his extended family group, which says they've come to terms with this issue of when God is enough. He also sent messengers throughout Manasseh, and calling them to arms, and also into Asher, Zebulun, Naphtali. All of these have a share in the Jezreel Valley. Jezreel Valley threatened. The militia should come from there. So they too went up to meet them. And Gideon said, "If you'll save the Lord by my hand, as you promised, I'm going to put a wool fleece on the threshing floor. If there's dew only on the fleece, and all the ground is dry, then I'll know you will save Israel by my hand, as you said. Now, why is he asking for manipulation of dewfall in the presence of the army that's gathering? Because Baal controlled the dewfall in the minds of the Canaanites, and so he's setting up a test. He said, let's see if one God is enough. If God controls the dewfall, we don't need Baal, because that would be redundant. We already have a deity who controls. So he asked for something that follows expectation. If the threshing floor and fleece are both subjected to morning dewfall, the evaporation is going to occur more quickly off the floor, off the stone floor, and less quickly off the fleece. So what he asked for just follows expectation, and then he inverts it, and he asks for the opposite thing. And the Lord shows him, yep, I can manipulate the dewfall either direction. So again, this is an affirming answer to the question, I'm with you, and I am one, and one God is enough. Chapter 7, early in the morning, Jerubbaal, that's Gideon, and all his men camped at the spring of Harod. So now we have all the Midianite soldiers out there, and other eastern Midianites, Amalekites, and other eastern people out there. Down here, we've got the gathering of the Israelite militia, and they're hydrating here, getting ready. That's why they're meeting here near the spring. The camp of Midian was north of them in the valley near the hill of Moreh. I love this, having you sit here, because it is like this person is sitting there writing that. It's how you would describe the battle scene. Harod Valley, a spring, and the Midianites out here. The Lord said to Gideon, you have too many men. That is just not possible. In an infantry confrontation where you expect casualties to be extraordinarily high, you never have too many men. You always want to have the superior numbers to have more people standing in the end of the game. But the Lord said, you have too many men. I cannot deliver Midian into your hands, or Israel would boast against me. My own strength has saved me. Well, that's kind of taking the, is one God enough, a whole different direction. That's going, well, you don't really need God at all. And my whole point is I want to teach you that one God is enough. Not that you don't, not that you need more, not that you need less. And they'll say, my own strength has saved me. Now announce to the army, anyone who trembles with fear may turn and leave Mount Gilead. This is also called Mount Gilead, as well as Mount Gilboa. So 22,000 men left and 10,000 remained. That is a significant reduction by more than half. And you got to remember the numeric evaluation from before. They were spread out in uncountable numbers. So you're looking at a camp that's well outdistanced you at the largest number of the Israelite army that had gathered here. Now you're getting fewer. The Lord said to Gideon, there are still too many men. Take them down to the water, and I will thin them out for you there. If I say this one shall go with you, he shall go. If I say this one shall not go with you, he shall not go. So Gideon took the men down to the water, and there the Lord said, separate those who lap the water with their tongues as a dog laps from those who kneel down to drink. So there's two styles of drinking. Some people are going to go face to the water, and others are going to bring the water to their face. And the Lord says, with those who, with 300 of them drank from cupped hands, lapping like dogs, all the rest got down on their knees to drink. And the Lord said to Gideon, with the 300 men that lapped, I'll save you, and give the Midianites into your hands. Let all the others go home. Unthinkable. So Gideon sent the rest of the Israelites home, and kept the 300 who took the provisions and the trumpets of the others. And the way it rolls out is this. Gideon is going to eventually divide his militia, his 100 left, into three groups. Each is going to have a jar. Each is going to have a torch. Each is going to have a trumpet. And what they do is, under cover of night, they sneak out to the perimeter of this large encampment. And on a signal, each of them does the same things. They take their ceramic jar, smash it on a rock, they ignite their torch, and they hit the shofar and blow the shofar, and shout, a sword for the Lord and a sword for Gideon. And we find that the 300 who are stationed around the camp aren't really there to fight, as witness what happens next. because when they do that, the Lord throws the camp into disarray. Remember, you've got a variety of clan and people groups commingled. They mistake one another for the enemy. They start harming each other and eventually flee completely out of the arena with the Israelites running after them. And at the end of the day, the affirmation is in place. When God is enough, if your God is the Lord.